ನೀವು ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ ನಮ್ಮ ಕುಡ್ಲ ನ್ಯೂಸ್ 24x7. ಇದು ವಿಶ್ವಾಸದ ಪ್ರತಿಬಿಂಬ.
ವ್ಯಾಪಾರಿಗಳೇ, ಉದ್ಯಮಿಗಳೇ, ಗ್ರಾಹಕರೇ, ಆಗಿವೆಯಾ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗಳು ಕ್ರಾನಿಕ್? ಆಗಬೇಡಿ ಯಾವತ್ತೂ ಪ್ಯಾನಿಕ್. ಇದು ನಮ್ಮ ಕುಡ್ಲ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಕ್ಲಿನಿಕ್. ಇಲ್ಲಿದೆ ಕಂಪನೀಸ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಟ್ ಹಾಗೂ LLPಯ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಟಾನಿಕ್. ನಾನು CASS ನಾಯಕ್. ವೀಕ್ಷಕರೇ, ನಿಮಗೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮ್ಮ ಕುಡ್ಲ ಅರ್ಪಿಸುವ 237ನೇ ಸಂಚಿಕೆಯ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಟಾನಿಕ್ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ವಾಗತ. ಇಂದಿನ ವಿಷಯ ಕಂಪನೀಸ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಟ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ LLP ಡೂಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಡೋಂಟ್ಸ್. ಬಿಫೋರ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಅವರ್ ಫಾರ್ಮಲ್ ಸೆಷನ್, we would like to invite two resourceful resource person to our show. CS Chetan Naik, practicing company secretary for the last 25 years, having his offices in Bangalore and Udupi, and he has 5 associates as company secretaries in his firm. He is a leading practicing company secretary, and he is specialized in company law matters, LLP, foreign exchange, management consultancy and investment. CS Chetan Naik, ನಮ್ಮ ಸಮಸ್ತ ವೀಕ್ಷಕರ ಪರವಾಗಿ ನಿಮಗೆ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ವಾಗತ. ನಮ್ಮೊಂದಿಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ CS ಉಲ್ಲಾಸ್ ಭಟ್. ಉಲ್ಲಾಸ್ S ಭಟ್. He has his office in Mangalore and associate at Bangalore. He is also in practice for the last 15 years. He is specialized in Companies Act, LLP, as well as various other fields related to the business, and he is practicing in Mangalore for the last 15 years. And both CS Chetan Naik and CS Ullas Bhatt, they are the proud past chairman of the Institute of Company Secretaries of India, Mangalore chapter. CS Ullas Bhatt, you are also welcome to the show. Today, before starting our show, special events of the week. Yesterday, Radhashtami, 23rd September 2023, ಭಾದ್ರಪದ ಮಾಸದ ಶುಕ್ಲ ಪಕ್ಷದ ಅಷ್ಟಮಿ, ರಾಧಾಷ್ಟಮಿ ಅಂತ ನಮ್ಮ ಜಗತ್ತಿನಾದ್ಯಂತ ಆಚರಣೆ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೇವೆ. ಎಲ್ಲ ಇಸ್ಕಾನ್ ದೇವಾಲಯಗಳಲ್ಲಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಎಲ್ಲ ಕೃಷ್ಣ ದೇವಾಲಯದಲ್ಲಿರ್ಬೋದು, ರಾಧಾಷ್ಟಮಿಯನ್ನು ಬಹಳ ವಿಜೃಂಭಣೆಯಿಂದ ಆಚರಿಸಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ರಾಧೆ ಹಾಗೂ ಕೃಷ್ಣ, ರಾಧಾಕೃಷ್ಣ ಅಂದೇ ಒಂದು ಫೇಮಸ್. ಯಾಕಂದರೆ ರಾಧೆ ಕೃಷ್ಣನ ಒಂದು ಹೃದಯವನ್ನು ಪ್ರೀತಿಯಿಂದ ಗೆದ್ದವಳು ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಒಂದು ನಮಗೆ ನಾವು ನೋಡಿದ್ದೇವೆ ಹಾಗೂ ಕೇಳಿದ್ದೇವೆ. ಈ ರಾಧಾಷ್ಟಮಿಯ ಪ್ರಯುಕ್ತ ಸಮಸ್ತ ವೀಕ್ಷಕರಿಗೆ ಶುಭಾಶಯಗಳನ್ನು ಹೇಳ್ತೇವೆ. ಆನ್ 27th September, ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಎ ವರ್ಲ್ಡ್ ಟೂರಿಸಮ್ ಡೇ. ಸೊ ವರ್ಲ್ಡ್ ಟೂರಿಸಮ್ ಡೇ we are celebrating on 27th September across the globe. United Nations General Assembly has accepted this World Tourism Day since 1980, and every year on 27th September this World Tourism Day is celebrated. Why this Tourism Day is important? Tourism Day is important because tourism sector contributes significantly to the GDP of any country, as well as it generates employment. As per the latest statistics, nearly 10% of the GDP of the world is contributed by tourism sector, and 1 in 10 person employed is in tourism sector. It shows the importance of tourism across the globe. And nowadays people are passionate to travel more. See, there is a saying, when you see anything you can believe. So people have the what you can say, their routine now, going for weekends as well as annual vacations across the globe. So on behalf of this World Tourism Day, I wish entire people of the world to enjoy this tourism initiative. This year theme is tourism and green investments. In 2022 the theme was rethinking tourism because of COVID situation. Then in 2021 it was tourism for inclusive growth. So tourism and green investment in Saudi Arabia also, there is a very big now event is going on. It is scheduled on 27th September of this week itself. There is a very famous and often cited quote by Lao Tzu, that means all it takes is a single step to begin a 1,000-mile of long journey. I think nobody is unhappy about traveling. Everybody is always inclined for seeing more and more places. So that is the relevance of this World Tourism Day. As I already discussed, today our topic is do's and don'ts for companies and LLPs. So we all know that there are various forms of entities for business: proprietorship, partnership, company, LLP, and other forms of entities are not so much in what we can in existence, as well as not funded by many business people. So as per 1956 Companies Act, there were 658 sections and 7 schedules. So that has been revamped in the year 2013 by Companies Act 2013. In Companies Act 2013, there are 29 chapters, 470 sections. Sections have been halved, not halved, major sections have been, because that many relevant sections were not relevant for the current context, and 7 schedules. Then in 2008, because there were a lot of hardships in formation, conducting the business, as well as compliances under the Companies Act, there were a lot of disadvantages under the Partnership Act. To make one hybrid model, that is LLP, Limited Liability Partnership Act, that has been enacted in the year 2008. So that has come into force with effect from 2009, Limited Liability Partnership. So Limited Liability Partnership, it has 84 sections and 4 schedules. It is a small law when compared to Companies Act. So let us discuss about what are the do's and what are the don'ts. What are the compliances required under the Companies Act, and what are the compliances required under the LLP Act. If you don't do, what are the consequences under both the acts also we need to discuss. And normally startups, when they want to start new business, so which form of entity is beneficial to them, which form of entity is advantageous to them, all these aspects we can discuss. And viewers, if you have any doubts, please call It is a live show. Please call 0824 411 6060 or 411 9090. Let us start with the CS Chetan Nayak. Now recently, after 2014, this NDA government has been formed. So first part up to 2019, again second inning started from 2019. What are the initiatives taken under Companies Act as a part of ease of doing business? Can you just brief?
Companies Act 2013 is a total replacement of Companies Act of 1956. Basically, as a part of ease of doing business, the Companies Act is providing liberal as well as simple procedures for the companies. One thing is with the registration. We start with the registration. If you see the registration of the companies, earlier there was a physical presence. We had to go to Register of Companies, Bangalore, and then we have to submit the physical documents. Now those things are not there. Everything they made it is online. That is one of the simple. Second thing is the time. See, time is money. Everybody wants to start their business, and whatever time they are saving in the formation of the company is so that they can earn the money out of the business. So now earlier company formation was taking around 1 month, minimum 1 month, including the name. Now the name will be granted within a day, as well as the company will be formed within 48 hours. So these are the basic advantage about the formation of the companies.
Okay.
And one more thing, one advantage is that they brought in that small company provision in New Companies Act. So there are so many liberalization as well as a simplification for small companies, including less compliance, less procedures for small companies which is having capital of 4 crores and 40 crores turnover. That is as of now. And one more thing is about the decriminalization. Now many offences, whatever committed in the Companies Act, under Companies Act, in non-compliance, there is no criminal action. There is only 13 violations are categorized for the criminal action. Rest everything can be separated with the fines.
Okay, very nice. As per the latest statistics, as on January 2023, there are 24,61,937 registered companies. 15,17,008 are only active companies. 9,04,723 are closed companies, and 2,469 are dormant companies. 7,110 companies are under liquidation, and companies under the process of striking off are 30,627. So our Reliance Industries, they have issued shares to the public for the first time in 1977. So that is also we should remember. And why 24,61,937 companies are registered? Out of that, 9,04,000 are closed. What is the purpose? Whether it is Companies Act very difficult to comply with? Why many companies are getting closed also? Can you just brief about it?
Yes, what happens is when any business person goes for making a company, there is a lack of knowledge, there is an ignorance, and because of this ignorance, it costs them in compliances. The Companies Act is arranged in such a way, since as a management they are handling public funds, and there is a difference, a separation between ownership and management. So what happens is the management is always answerable to the real owners who are the shareholders, even otherwise to, because of their impact, because of their social impact, they take employees from the public, they take resources, all land, building or water or electricity, whatever resources they are taking from the public. So and with their huge income and impact, they have a significant social impact. So because of that, they are expected to behave responsibly. And unfortunately, in the Indian scenario, what has happened is earlier a very liberal system was abused by fraudsters to swindle the public. and also to deprive the revenue. Ultimately, the government revenue it is used only for helping the public, for roads, bridges and all this, and for public benefit. So when a company does not behave responsibly, when it goes rogue, then the consequences are very severe, because of which some restrictions are placed. Companies Act is a provision where the regulators place some restrictions on how you behave, which is the context of today's this scenario, do's and don'ts. So when it is not done, then considering the consequences, and they have kept very steep penalties, very high penalties, as sir was telling, Chetan sir was telling, that right now fines have been, the imprisonment, criminalization, that has been replaced with fines. In a way it is good, because every director will not feel he is a criminal. However, the other side consequences is the penalties are very high. They are to the tune of lakhs of rupees for small mistakes. But the mistakes may look small, but in the overall context, if it goes out of proportion, if everybody starts doing the same mistake, then the government is not having the latest statistics, because of which it creates a problem for the society. The investor, generally the investor or the general public, the initial owners of the company, those who do the promoters, what they feel is that I am not having any business, so I need not file anything. They say only after I get revenue, because that is the concept they have under the Income Tax Act. Only after I get revenue, then I will start. I don't have a turnover, nothing. So 4 or 5 years I will keep quiet, then I will start filing. They are ignorant, and unfortunately, they are also not willing to go to a competent professional like a chartered accountant and a company secretary. All these professionals are needed for the compliance purpose. So they don't take the advice, and by themselves they try to do everything. Because of this, what happens is, after 1 or 2 years, if you keep on doing business without filing anything with the government, they don't have an information of what you are doing, where are you, whether you are earning revenue. This could also be a method for defrauding the public. So you start getting notices, and when you are not filed anything, suddenly you realize the penalty for not filing on time is 100 rupees per day per form, for 2 main annual filing
penalty
forms.
for not doing the business and not filing the returns.
Yes. So both things, when it happens,
Not doing the business is followed by not filing the returns.
correct.
Okay.
So what happens is, these when you start getting notices, after 2 years you start getting notices from the registrar. That may come down further, but after 2 years you get a notice telling that last 2 years you have not filed anything, you are not doing any business, please inform why we should not close your company. So there it comes that one is because of lack of information. One is the plain lack of business, which the promoter cannot help. When there is no business, when he is failing in business, naturally he will have to, whether he is an individual, whether a proprietor, firm or whichever, he will have to close down his this thing. But another scenario is where he is doing business but is ignorant, because of which he ends up, when suddenly after you get the notice you go there, then the penalty is to the tune of some 2 to 3 lakh, 4 lakh rupees, just to revive your, just to keep your company going with all the penalties you pay. And if they close, then again for revival another 5-6 lakhs or so, huge penalties and everything you have to incur.
Then
for
all
all the
it can be called ease of doing business.
The problem is, it is the ease of business.
But small companies, they should give some concessions, and whenever they put a penalty or fines, there should be some upper cap. You cannot go on, it is not a meter buddy like business. That is also a lot of changes they have to bring in. So that
as of now, cap is there.
Yeah.
for
There
small
is a
companies.
cap, as sir has rightly
cap
said.
is so
2 lakhs.
huge.
Yeah,
That
it's
are
huge.
all, that cap is not
Big one.
acceptable. Okay. Now, our popular form of organization earlier, proprietorship, then more than one person means partnership. As per section 4 of the Indian Partnership Act 1932, so old act. Okay, before Companies Act 1956, Partnership Act 1932. The relationship between persons who have agreed to share the profits of a business carried on by all, or any of them acting for all. So there were some disadvantages in Partnership Act. What were those disadvantages that made government to form Companies Act 1956? Can just you?
Yeah. Basically, the difference is with the liability. Where this company, the most advantage is benefit for shareholders or the partners is limited liability. If there is any outside liability is there, that is restricted to the share capital of the company or whatever the assets there in the company. It will not stretch beyond the company to the directors or the shareholders. So with that concept, this company law is framed. Second thing is about the separation of management and investors.
Different legal entity.
Yeah, different legal entity as well as separate management and shareholders.
Director and company are not same.
Correct. And suppose I want to invest in the company, I can just buy the shares. Suppose now, for example, I want to buy Infosys shares today. I can buy the Infosys shares and I am not...
Even one share also you can buy.
One share also I can buy. And I can sell the shares easily in the market. So transferability is there.
Then perpetual succession.
Perpetual succession is there because even if all the shareholders dies, then the whatever assets are there, whatever business is there in the company, that continues, including the brand. Now we can see about the Reliance. Now the second generation is continuing. Now maybe the third generation again. But Reliance brand, Reliance company is intact. There is no change in the Reliance company. Like that, continuation is one more advantage. And direct participation of shareholder is not required in the management of the organization, where organization can be run by the efficient people or qualified people, professional people. This is advantage in company.
Okay. Now 1932 Indian Partnership Act, 1956 Companies Act. Of course, that has been revamped or revised by Companies Act 2013. Why this Companies Act 2013 has been again reenacted, and whatever the loopholes in 1956 Companies Act? And as I already mentioned, there were 658 sections in 1956 Companies Act that has been reduced to 470 sections. So why that was needed?
One is after 1956 Act, in the 1956 Act, there were a few loopholes which were used by some companies very recently in 2008 onwards. There were a series of scams where one was the deposit, taking deposit from the public. There were some loopholes where the law was not very strict. For private limited company, the law was very lenient, very extremely lenient. So a lot of scamsters and some who wanted to defraud the revenue, they used this one to do the money laundering and all these things. And because of this, what happened? A lot of public money was swindled. This was one loophole they wanted to plug. Second one was modernization. With under the old 1956 Act, what happened is in the 60s, there were concepts of corporates becoming secretaries in the company, managers in the company. So those provisions were continuing. They still continued in the, they were redundant, but it used to be in that. So they wanted to reduce that, all the redundant provisions and all. They wanted to cut it. That was second this thing. Third thing is a lot of power was felt necessary to be given to the ROCs and the regional directors, the MCA authorities, where they could keep, as I said earlier, the frauds in control. They could make very stringent provisions. So this new act, instead of the old Companies Act didn't have that many rules. The new Companies Act is filled with rules. You have rules for every the 20 or more odd chapters that are there. For each chapter you are having rules, and in some cases same chapter has one or two more rules. What happens is in the rule making power, you need not go to the parliament each and every time when there is a rule making power. It is kept before the parliament, and only when both the houses are in session, both should modify or they should reject the rule. Only then it usually it is passed only by the MCA. The MCA makes the notification. So that rule making power has been given, extensive rule making power has been given in the new Companies Act 2013, which they have used. And that rule making power was actually used to make the definition of small companies, where they gave the overall this one up to 100 crore turnover and 10 crore capital. So in between that, these people have come with 4 crore. A small company is a 4 crore capital company and 40 crore turnover. So that came within the rule making power. So they can pass it, and only both the houses reject it, only then it will not be a law. Otherwise it will be a law. So that one power they took under them. They were the reason for this extensive and one more, this one was these dormant companies, as that companies which are in existence, they were being used for revenue frauds, for all kinds of illegal activities. So that was also one area where with this stringent this one, they could bring it through adjudication because of this new act. Otherwise earlier everything, as sir said, that was everything was being criminalized. So that was one area, modernization. So these were some of the aspects why these new changes, the new Companies Act 2013 was rightly felt necessary, and it was passed.
Now, as I have mentioned, Partnership Act and Companies Act, that hybrid model is LLP. How it is business friendly, and how it is beneficial for any person conducting the business, LLP. Can you just brief about LLP?
Yeah, limited liability partnership is a hybrid model of partnership firm and company. See, all flexibility like partnership firm is available for LLP, but the limited liability to the partners of LLP is available as similar to the Companies Act. This is the one big advantage for LLP. Why LLP is very popular nowadays? Because the lesser compliance. There is no periodical returns are required, only annual return is required to be filed with the Register of Companies, MCA. This is the one advantage. Second thing is, even formation cost is lesser than the company formation, LLP.
And taxation part, once the company gets taxed,
Yes,
when
then
it is
again,
divided,
again they declare the dividend,
Yeah.
it will be taxed in the hands of the shareholders.
in case of
In
LLP,
in
it
case
is
of
like a
LLP, it is
partnership.
like a partnership firm, it will be expenses for the tax. Once the tax is paid in LLP, then again partners will not be taxed.
That is the most
Yeah,
advantage
that is
in
the one, but a financial
LLP.
aspect, yes.
Okay. Now we have one caller, let us attend. Hello.
ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ, ನಾ ರಾಮರಾವ್ ಮಾತಾಡುದು.
ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ ರಾಮರಾಯರಿಗೆ.
ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ.
ಹೇಳಿ.
ನನ್ನ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ವಾಟ್ ಆರ್ ದ ಅಡ್ವಾಂಟೇಜಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಡಿಸ್ಅಡ್ವಾಂಟೇಜಸ್ ಆಫ್ LLP? Then next, what is the aim and objectives of LLP? Next, what is the minimum capital? And what is the minimum and maximum number of partners? Next, what is the difference between traditional partnership firm and LLP? What is the difference between a company and LLP? Next, because of partnership liabilities are limited, what additional precautions bank has to take while granting loan? Next, whether the partnership agreement has to be registered. In case of necessary, what are the procedure for amendment? Next, because of LLP, is there any benefit in income tax and GST rules? Next, apart from chartered accountant and company secretaries, who are all benefited in respect of job opportunities? Next, please name few successful LLPs in Mangalore. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Our Ram Rao is always asking full detailed syllabus. Today he has shortened the syllabus, like your now it is already August, now midterm exam, only short this. So whatever it may be, thanks to Ram Rao for asking continuously question for our this. We have been discussing this about LLP only, minimum members and maximum members for LLP, and minimum capital and maximum capital.
Yeah.
Can you just?
Yeah, there is no minimum number of members is 2, like any other partnership firm, and there is no restriction about the maximum. And capital, you can start with the very lesser capital, minimum capital, and there is no restriction also with the maximum. And one more question is about the taxation. We already discussed where the taxation is not there for the partners. Taxation is only for LLP.
But LLP rate is like a partnership
firm. It is a
companies. It is less.
Yeah, little bit 5%.
And new manufacturing companies only 15%.
Correct.
Up to 31,324. If anybody starts a company for manufacturing, viewers please note. If you want to start any new manufacturing company up to 31st March 24, if the production is commenced before 31st March 24, the tax rate for that company is only 15%.
Yes.
And up to 400 crores turnover, the tax rate is only 25%. and if they don't want to avail some special incentives, additional depreciation and all, at 22%. And otherwise it will be normal rate above 400 company,
Yes.
400 crores. And if the company wants to declare dividend, earlier DDT they should have paid. Now
Yeah.
DDT
Now it
has
is shifted to the shareholders.
then it will be now taxation in the hands of the
Recipient.
person who receives the dividend. This is the thing.
In that actually tax rate become more now, because it is according to the slab of the shareholders.
Correct. Now, Ullas Bhatt. Now, what are the procedures for forming the LLP? Just brief.
For forming an LLP, you should have a minimum of, as sir said, a minimum of 2 designated partners. Designated partners are
Instead
similar.
of directors, they are
Director,
called
designated
designated partners.
They are in the role of a director shareholder sort of this thing.
Okay.
Pure partners are just like shareholders without directorship. But you need to have a minimum of 2 designated partners. So they should join together.
Instead of shareholders, they are called partners.
Partners.
Instead of directors, they are called designated
Designated partners. So all the liability under the act comes to the whatever LLP, they are not filed on time, everything comes to the designated partners only. Then they two should join together. You cannot have a non-profit LLP. Main condition is it should be for profit, the LLP. They join together, they apply for the name. There is a form called LLP, this one run form is there. You have to apply for the name.
Even though it is LLP Act, for the purpose of governance, it is Register of Companies.
Register of Companies itself. Everything is common with the MCA. MCA is the same regulator, same, almost laws are also, some of this thing, regulation, this one, everything is similar. Some provisions of the Companies Act have been made applicable to LLP Act, especially serious things like disqualification. Those things have been made, adjudication of penalties, those have been made applicable to LLPs also. So when 2 people join, they apply for the name. Once the name is granted, everything is online. They get the digital signatures, everything. They apply for the name. They decide on instead of capital, here it is called as contribution. There it is called as capital. Here it is called as contribution. The concept is same. So they decide on a capital. The LLP agreement, it can be made before incorporation or after incorporation. But if it is made before incorporation, you have to ratify it after the LLP is formed. So they form the LLP. That also is, everything is online. Once you get the name, both of them can be done together, or first you apply for the name and then you go for incorporation. They apply.
The memorandum article same.
Here it is the LLP agreement, but that is not required at the stage of the incorporation. It is only after.
Okay.
Within 29 days it has to be filed, the LLP agreement, or ratified. If it is done before incorporation, you have to ratify it within 29 days and apply with the registrar. You have to file it with the registrar. This is the brief this thing.
Then compliances we will discuss. Before that we will attend another caller. Hello.
Hello.
Who speaking?
My name is Hari.
Hari.
You
need not have to hurry. You can ask the question slowly.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Ask me.
Can I convert my LLP into company, and what is the procedure for the same?
Convert the LLP into company.
Yeah.
Okay. So that is the question. What is the procedure?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Conversion of LLP into company.
Yeah.
Why conversion is needed? What are the advantages? And what is the procedure? Can you just brief?
Yeah, LLP can be converted into company. The advantage is
LLP can be converted into partnership also, no? Reverse.
Yeah, but LLP conversion into company, like we have to confirm the name again, because anyway LLP name is registered. There is no difficulty in getting the name, because one name is given to LLP, that cannot be given to the company also.
Okay.
So the name is already blocked, so that you can use the same name. In a partnership firm, when you are converting, that issue comes, because partnership firm name is not registered under MCA. So getting the name again, it's a challenge. Otherwise, because when you are converting a partnership firm into a company, the same name should continue with the addition of private limited or limited. If not, then you have to change the partnership name. Here that question is not there. See, when business is getting scaling up, when you are going for a bigger size, and when you are looking for investors, they are always preferring for a venture capital or fund, this one, they always prefer to go with the company because of the transferability, easy transferability of shares they want.
Correct.
Because most of the investment which comes either to the venture capital or in the fund, they want to exit. They are not interested to carry the profit. They see the valuation.
For the time being only they want to exist.
Correct.
Later on they want to
exit.
Okay.
Basically for 5 years, 7 years, they keep that timeline at the time of investment. So that one is the advantage where they can easily transfer their shares and they can exit.
Okay.
There is a reason.
What is the procedure now? Transferring LLP into, converting LLP into company.
Yeah, first thing is that you have to apply that name. Then same all the procedure like a memorandum, article, everything you have to draft and submit.
Redraft.
Yeah, redraft it. So then you have to apply for the conversion. Normally it takes.
In that you have to preamble, you have to mention.
Yeah,
so and
yeah,
so
that
LLP
will be converted. That every all the document will come like
what is the
that.
date of probable date you have to mention in that?
No,
With
date is
effect
not
from
required.
which-
But date will be effective from the date of the registration, when you get the registration certificate.
Okay.
So like that. And one more thing is required, NOC from secured lenders. When you are going to convert from LLP to company, we have to take a NOC from the lenders. So with that we can go. Rest of the procedure is same like formation of a company.
That is special resolution, general resolution, all
Yeah.
these things are not there.
No, that all the shareholders, this one,
Whether
partners.
LLP has to hold the AGM?
No, not required.
Uh-huh.
Partners, here is concept is the partners. So they can decide about the conversion.
All the partners
Yeah.
required,
they have
not
to-
designated.
No, not designated. All the partners have to decide about the conversion.
Partners on majority.
Yeah, majority they have to decide for the conversion. Only after that only this entire process starts.
Okay.
Okay, once they convert into company, then that PAN number, GST number, everything will be changed because of the change in the entity.
Okay.
But there is no stamp duty or the capital gain for the transfer of assets.
Okay.
Similar.
What about partnership to company? Any such procedures? What are the
Partnership to
procedures?
company, as sir has said, that name has to be applied for. Otherwise, the procedure is first of all the firm should be its structure should be that reconstitution might be required before going for conversion, because the structure should be like that of a joint stock company. There is a concept called joint stock company, where their shares are divisible into so many, their capital is divisible into so many shares. So if that is properly done and the statement of account, everything is needed at that stage, they can go for a conversion. Whether it is there is a chapter under Companies Act under which it is done. Everything all
There is
the
also no capital gain.
There is no capital gain.
Yes.
provided that provision under some, there is a clear provision up to that the same people should continue for a period of 4 years. The same promoters and the partners who are there, they should
Same
continue.
promoter means full or 51%?
51% they have to continue for a period of 5 years. Otherwise, that entire capital gains it might come back.
Okay.
And so that is a basic and as sir has said, from the lenders, any secured creditor, anything is there, parole will be required.
Okay.
So those are the, it is almost same, but name is the extra this one.
Now, there is a property under the Partnership Act. When it is converted into LLP or company, in revenue records, they don't recognize unless there is some registered document in this registrar's office in state. So how to overcome this situation? Can you just brief about it?
No, actually they have to follow the change in the entity. It is like a change in the entity, and I don't think so. Nowadays they understand and they do it. Only thing is that it will take some time because they are not taking the independent decision in their level. They take some legal opinion from a third party, lawyers or expert or in the higher authority, and they do it. In many cases where we converted into partnership firm into company, they have done it. But that challenge is always there because they say that there should be one sale deed. They recognize only the sale deed for the
Correct.
name change. Here sale deed is not there, but you have to give an opinion and proper document
Then
of
they will,
conversion.
khata they will change.
Khata they will change.
Okay. Khata will be done in the corporation level.
Yeah. So that based on the khata only you should go, the change of name.
So if it is rural area, 911.
911, yes,
Okay.
Panchayat,
Other documents will remain same.
remains same.
Okay.
Along with the change of constitution, we have to give the land documents.
Okay.
Because financial institutions are always insisting for the change. And second thing is that in an audit, the auditor has to give a certificate saying that all the properties are in the name of the company. When it is in the name of the partnership firm, unless it is in the name of the company, that is the issue. So, but recently it is taking some time, but they are honoring that conversion.
Okay. Now, each form of entity there is a calendar of events or compliances. Okay. For companies, what are the compliances? Recurring compliances. Special compliance, of course, special whatever that events happen, that is to be done. What are the, every year, those who have formed a company, what are all the compliances and what are the last dates? Can you just brief about it?
Yes, I'll take it from the first year and the other coming years. So as soon as a company is formed, first thing is you have to check whether the company is formed after January and before March or it is before January. If it is before January, then for example, for 2020, we are in the 23-24 year. Say for example, now that is September, I am forming a company. Then my first financial ends at 31st March 2024.
Yes.
There is no option at all for me. I have to close in the first year itself. The other option is I form on 1st of January or 2nd, any time after 1st of, on or after 1st of January. Then I have the option, either it can be 31st March 2024, that is the same year in which I formed the company, or it can be the 31st March of the next year, that is 2025.
That is, it should not exceed more than 15 months.
Yes, yes. So, if, depending on the option I take, my first year's filing, it depends on the annual general meeting.
For all purposes,
For
Companies
all
Act,
purposes.
income tax, everything.
Yes. So, annual general meeting, what happens is, I have the option every year, whichever year I form. So, if depending on my financial year, if it is 31st March of a year, then first year up to 31st December I am having time for completing my, doing the annual general meeting. Up to 31st December I am having time. If for the subsequent years there is no opportunity at all, by 30th of September I have to do. This you come to know by all the time periods that is provided. They say 9 months from the end of the first financial year, and the balance sheet should be, everything should be approved, adopted within that AGM date, and everything should be decided that same way. And the first year and the second year, one AGM is enough. For the first year and second year, AGM is calendar wise, annual general meeting. That is calendar year wise. So the first and second year, one annual general meeting is sufficient. However, from the next years onwards, every calendar year there has to be an annual general meeting, and that has to be within 6 months after the end of your financial year. So that is 30th of September. So 30th, and not more than 15 months gap from the previous meeting, previous AGM, not more than 15 months gap. Here, those who have held between April to September, April to June, that period they have to be a bit careful, because next year it could be any time after July to September. So if they take as 30th September as the date, so there is a possibility that they will be violating that, and they will have to pay fines and everything for that.
What is the gap, maximum gap between two AGMs?
15 months.
Okay.
15 months, not more than 15 months.
Okay.
They can extend the gap by an application to the register of companies. Max he can give is 3 months. He cannot exceed for more than 3 months. So depending on what date,
If it is more than 3 months,
it is a violation. It will be a violation. You cannot get.
nobody can approve, regional director,
can
no.
approve. Nobody can approve that. If depending on what AGM date I have held, we are taking 30th September as the base date for all companies, since this will be applicable to all the companies. Let us take 30th September. So depending, if you held your AGM on 30th September, within 29 days you have to file your balance sheet, audited set. The balance sheet, director's report, auditor's report, the entire set, whatever there is in the financial statements, audited financial statements. You have to file it by within 29 days. And your annual return, which contains the details of all the changes in management, changes in shareholders, everything is contained in that, changes in share capital, debentures.
That is 31st October.
That is within 60 days, not 31st October, within 60
30th
days from the AGM date.
Okay.
That comes to around 29th of November.
Max.
Max, that is a max, this one you can have. Unless for that year, nowadays the MCA, depending on this corona period and all, they gave massive extensions. So it is not advisable to look for extensions. Always file on time. So 29th October, if you have held your AGM on 30th of September, then 29th October and 29th of November, you are having a due date for filing your balance sheet, which is in form AOC4, and annual return in form MGT 7 or 7A for small companies.
Other returns we will discuss. Before that, first year of formation. Now, if it is done on 1st January 2023, okay. So you can hold the meeting in next year. 24 September 30th. Up to that there is a time for holding AGM. But there is sufficient profit from January to March this year itself. As per the Income Tax Act, that 15 months is not there. So in such cases, they have to close on 31st March 23 itself, no?
Correct. Correct. So we always suggest to have, even if it's for 3 months, you should have a balance sheet.
Okay.
Because see, for income tax purpose, it recognizes only 12 months.
Correct.
Under Companies Act, that first year it is recognized for 15 months.
Okay.
So suppose, as you told, if you file a company balance sheet under income tax for 3 months, then again one more balance sheet for a company you have to make for 15 months. Again one more balance sheet you have to make for 12 months for next year, that income tax. To avoid all those things, if it is a sizable company, if there is a quick start in the project, then we suggest that you should have a whatever 1 month, 2 month balance sheet and file it to the ROC as well as income tax. Then go in the same way, like 12 months period, instead of mismatch between income tax and MC. Even though it is not mandatory for companies to file within for that 3 months.
Okay. What is this DIN? So in case of companies, directors identification number is required. Correct, no?
Yes.
Once DIN is allotted, whether it is permanent or every year KYC is required.
Every year it has to be renewed. Earlier, initial days when DIN was introduced, it was had a permanent character. But recently they have changed. The problem is they don't know whether the director is alive, whether all his details are updated, whether still is a resident or non-resident, all these things are there. So just like your bank's KYC they do regularly, but here it is more regular. Every year you have to do a KYC called as DIR 3, director, DIR 3 KYC, and you have to do it by 30th of September every year. The date is after 1st April. You cannot even do before 1st April. So after on or after 1st April, before 30th of September. If you don't do that, then the DIN is deactivated and you have to pay 5,000 rupees additional fees. It is not fine. In the Companies Act, the public and promoter should be careful. Difference between fine, penalty and additional fees. The additional fees is treated as a fine. Actually, it is not a fine. It is an additional fee only. On top of that, there is actually a penalty for not complying also, not doing it on time. So
that penalty is discretionary or compulsory?
It is compulsory.
Okay.
The partial discretion is there for this thing, but that is only on the limits, on the quantum. The discretion is with respect to quantum, but not with respect to imposing.
Okay.
So what happens is this KYC, another one, this one is not be able to file any form if your DIN is deactivated, and you cannot go for closure of company if your DIN is deactivated.
Okay. What are the now? Everything is now companies under the Companies Act through MCA portal only. Okay, it is a lifeline. MCA portal is the lifeline for all the companies. What are the common problems and issues we are facing in MCA portal?
So one basic problem is that they are changing the versions. See, that change of version is a welcome movement by the ministry, but it
last
is not,
minute change.
Last minute change, as well as what I think is that before testing the software itself, they are releasing the market because of the pressure.
Then they are testing on the road.
Testing on the road, and so many representation, everything is being made by the institute or
that means preparing the road without road map.
Without road map. And timeline pressure, they immediately they release. Now see, now presently there is a V3. So version 3. It is very good because so many documents are available in a like what you can say, you need not attach and other things. It is everything can be filled like online basis. Earlier what you have to do, you have to download the form, you have to fill the form, then you have to attach all the documents. Now it should be a live this one, and you can save there itself. Even viewers can also see like that what and all documents they filed, everything, that is easy. But they implemented in the month of February, then they transferred almost all the activities, like all the transaction into that V3 model. That V3 portal itself is not available daytime, then sometimes the mid, then so many errors. Recently all didn't get deactivated. One day we are seeing the portal, all DINs are deactivated for whole day. So then again they rectified it. Sometimes address, different address is coming for the different promoters. Your address is to me and my address is to you, or someone else's address. Incorporation certificate is not getting generated. These are the problems, and we cannot.
Bajil Sajjige badle Bajil Palav.
Bajil Palav. Then we cannot commit now. See when it will be uploaded, when it will be approved. These are the few challenges we are facing through this V3 model. Fortunately,
Or their fault whether they give extension of dates.
no, few relaxation they are giving. Then they become very stringent. They don't listen what is our problem. They give only the data that this much companies are incorporated. So why it is not your problem? And anyway, they are also created the help desk. There is now help desk is created by all the
Whether
institutes.
really they help in help desk?
As of now, they are helping. Earlier it was not, because it was.
Whether everybody will be in the desk?
It is very difficult to connect, but once you get the call, once you build up the relationship, it is getting solved.
Okay.
And one more thing, fortunately for annual returns, for the financials and annual returns, that they have not moved to the V3. That is in the old version. So that is working properly as of now. So why I am saying is that because for that there will not be any relaxation.
Okay.
Because it is working. So within the time we should prepare and we have to file it to avoid the penalties.
We were discussing about compliances, various returns. Can you quickly say what are all the returns, which is the due date for companies?
One, as I said, AOC4 and MGT7 or 7E. 7E is for small companies. I covered it already. Then the immediate first
What is the last date?
The last date is 29th of October and 29th of October for your balance sheet, that is AOC4, and 29th of November for MGT7 or 7E.
Suppose the meeting is held prior, then from that.
If it is before that date, then
30 days.
30 days. If, for example, you have done in the month of June or July, then it is 29 days from that date and 60 days from the AGM date.
Okay.
Then the other immediate compliance, as soon as your financial year gets over, on 1st of April when a promoter opens his eyes and he sees, the first compliance that comes to him is 30th June when DPT3 form is there. That is, there are for all public limited companies or private limited companies, for all types of companies there are concepts of exempt deposits and deposits that they can take, and those two categories.
That is 30th June, no?
30th June,
DPT3.
DPT3. So that is to be done by 30th June of every year. For the data of up to 31st March, financial year up to 31st March, by 30th June of that coming financial year, you have to file it.
Okay.
So if that is one very important problem, and the problem is the balance sheet will not be ready by that date. So some of the data depends on the balance sheet. So here the company and the promoters have to be very careful.
If there is any mistake in DPT3 and balance sheet, can it be corrected?
It cannot be corrected. Unfortunately, the forms as of now, your balance sheet and your this thing, that is form DPT3, both of them cannot be renewed. They cannot be revised and filed.
Okay.
So
if there is mistake, what to do then?
If there is a mistake, the best possible solution is you mention it in your director's report or in this one, that so and so, the small, in the clarification letter you put, and then you just wait for any notice or anything from the department and try to explain and convince them. Otherwise, if it goes for adjudication. So hopefully, if it is a minor, very small error which can be explained, they would not take it up. Otherwise, that option is with them. They can take it up for adjudication.
We will continue that. Before that, one more caller. Hello? 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 Okay, I think call is cut, I think. Okay, now you can continue.
Then another one very important form is something called Form MSME, which is for small and medium enterprises. If you are having any of your suppliers as small or medium enterprises, small and micro, not small and medium, small and micro. When you are having micro and small enterprises, depending on their capital investment, capital layout, or their turnover, if you are having micro and small this thing, then every half year, that is from one is September and one is March.
What is that form number?
MSME 1. Form MSME 1. It is a
Okay.
statistical form,
Okay.
and here the form that does not have any additional fees for late filing, but the provision for penalty is there if it is filed late.
Okay.
That has to be filed within 30 days. Every year,
months.
within that end of the half year. So, for example, for up to September, you have to file by 30th of October. Up to March, you have to file by 30th of April. So those this one MSME form has one form, that is statistics you are giving to the government of what all MSME dues you have not paid on time, or even you it is outstanding, or you are paid on time, but you are paid but you are not paid on time. You are paid but you are not paid on time. Paid with the delay.
Now, what is the requirement under the Companies Act for MSME dues reporting in the balance sheet?
Yeah, balance sheet you have to separately disclose what is the outstanding amount payable to the MSME, and is there any delay, we have to provide the interest also.
Okay. Interest is nearly now 3 times of the repo rate
Yes,
of the
yes,
RBI.
yes.
It is very harsh.
Yeah, very harsh.
Then if there is no agreement, if there is agreement up to 45 days they can extend.
Correct.
If there is a agreement beyond 45 days but it is restricted to 45 days.
45
If there is no agreement, within 15 days they have to clear.
Clear it.
Correct,
Yes,
no?
yes.
Okay.
As of now, they are collecting all the data. There is no action from the ministry if it is delayed, delay in payment. I think in going ahead, they will take some action on that.
Okay.
But
But
here
in
the-
income
here-
tax recently they have made amendment also.
Yeah, that expenses.
So expenses will be disallowed if it is not
Yeah.
paid within the due date, like
prob-
other statutory
Yeah,
liability.
problem is that it is a good for MSME, but disadvantage is no. When I am dealing with the MSME, if this condition is very stringent, see sometimes what happens, supplier is okay with 60 days or 75 days or 80 days, but this law is not allowing. That time I will think to go with the MSME or not. So you have to have a balance provision for that.
Okay.
At least ministry has to give that. If MSME is okay with giving the time up to 60 days or 90 days, they have to honor it. It
But
will
if
be
it is
mutual.
okay means the person who is buying, no, he will make them to make okay.
Correct.
That is another disadvantage
That is
because
yes.
we are at the MSMEs are always at the receiving end. When there is a receiving end, they cannot have any say. Correct, no?
Correct.
So that is also, see,
It is also
any
that.
law
It has to
you
be balanced.
do-
Yeah.
Yeah, there are lot of pros and cons. Now I think time for break for our business tonic. Viewers, we will have small break. Break के बाद.
Bhima Udupi celebrates 15th anniversary from 22nd to 24th of September with finest 5 for you offers.
Now you can get rupees 650 off per gram on gold. Pay only 90% per carat on diamond and up to 50% off on making charges of silver. Also get rupees 100 extra per gram on old gold exchange.
Not just that, 1 in every 15 customers stand a chance to win a gold coin through lucky draw.
Bhima Jewelers, Chittaranjan Circle, Udupi. Terms and conditions apply.
ಹೋಗಿ ಹುಷಾರಾಗಿ
ಹುಷಾರಾಗಿ ಬೇಗ ಬೇಗ ಮೇಡಮ್ ನಿಮ್ ಹುಷಾರಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವಿಲ್ದೆ ಬೇಗ ಬೇಗ ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಏನಿ ಚೀಪ್ ಆಯಿಲ್ ತಗೊಂಡ್ಬಂದಿದ್ದೀರಾ ಅದನ್ನ ಬೇಗ ಬೇಗ ಹೋಗಿ ಹುಷಾರಾಗಿ ವಾಪಸ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಆರೋಗ್ಯ ಹುಷಾರಾಗಿ ನೋಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳುವಂತ ಆಯಿಲ್ ತಗೊಂಡ್ಬಂದು ಆವಾಗ ನಾನ್ ನಿಮ್ ಹುಷಾರಾಗಿ ಕರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ತೀನಿ ಬೇಗ ಬೇಗ
ಅದ್ಯಾವ ಆಯಿಲ್
ಫ್ರೀಡಮ್ ರಿಫೈನ್ಡ್ ಸನ್ಫ್ಲವರ್ ಆಯಿಲ್ 100% ಪ್ಯೂರ್, ತುಂಬಾ ಲೈಟ್. ಇದರಿಂದ ಕಮ್ಮಿ ಎಣ್ಣೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಅಡಿಗೆ ಮಾಡಿ ಆರೋಗ್ಯನ ಹುಷಾರಾಗಿ ಕಾಪಾಡಿ.
ಇನ್ಮೇಲೆ ಏನೇ ಇದ್ರು ಫ್ರೀಡಮ್ ಮಾತ್ರ.
ಹುಷಾರಾಗಿರಿ.
ಇದೇ ಅವಕಾಶ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಬೆಳೆಸೋದಕ್ಕೆ. ಆದ್ರೆ ಹಣ
ನಿಮ್ಮ ಸೂಪರ್ ಪವರ್ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡುವ ಟೈಮ್ ಬಂದಿದೆ.
ನೀವು ಟೆನ್ಷನ್ ತಗೋಬೇಡಿ. IIFL ಫೈನಾನ್ಸ್ ನಿಂದ ಥಟ್ಟನೆ ಲೋನ್ ತಗೊಳ್ಳಿ ಮತ್ತೆ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ನ ಬೆಳೆಸ್ತಾ ಹೋಗಿ.
ನಿಮ್ಮಂಥ ಸೂಪರ್ ಹೀರೋಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ಇಂಥ ಚಿಕ್ಕ ಪುಟ್ಟ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ಸ್ ಹೇಗೆ ತಡೆಯಬಲ್ಲವು? ಹೀಗಾಗಿ ಲೈಫ್ ಏಳಿಗೆ ಅವಕಾಶ ಕೊಟ್ಟಾಗಲೆಲ್ಲ ನಿಮ್ಮದೇ ಸೂಪರ್ ಪವರ್, ನಿಮ್ಮ ಗೋಲ್ಡ್ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಮತ್ತು IIFL ಫೈನಾನ್ಸ್ ನಿಂದ ಗೋಲ್ಡ್ ಲೋನ್ ಪಡೆಯಿರಿ. IIFL ಫೈನಾನ್ಸ್ ಹೇಳುತ್ತೆ ನಿಜವಾದ ಮಾತು.
BNI ಮಂಗಳೂರು ಪ್ರಸ್ತುತಪಡಿಸುವ ಬಿಗ್ ಬ್ರ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೋ 2023 ಒಂದೇ ಸೂರಿನಡಿಯಲ್ಲಿ 120ಕ್ಕಿಂತಲೂ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ವಿವಿಧ ಉತ್ಪನ್ನಗಳ ಸ್ಟಾಲ್ಗಳು. ಬಿಗ್ ಬ್ರ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೋ 2023 ನಲ್ಲಿ ಕಟ್ಟಡ ನಿರ್ಮಾಣಕ್ಕೆ ಬೇಕಾಗುವ ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟ್ಗಳು, ಪ್ರತಿ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಗಳಿಗೆ ಬೇಕಾಗುವ ಉತ್ಪನ್ನಗಳು, ಗೃಹೋಪಯೋಗಿ ಬಳಕೆಯ ಉತ್ಪನ್ನಗಳು, ಫುಡ್ ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟ್ಸ್, ಫರ್ನಿಚರ್, ಪ್ಲೇವುಡ್, ಲೈಫ್ ಸ್ಟೈಲ್, ಜ್ಯುವೆಲರಿ, ಆಟೋಮೊಬೈಲ್ಸ್ ಇತ್ಯಾದಿ. ಬಿಗ್ ಬ್ರ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೋ 2023 ದಿನಾಂಕ ಸೆಪ್ಟೆಂಬರ್ 30ರಿಂದ 2 ಅಕ್ಟೋಬರ್, ಬೆಳಿಗ್ಗೆ 10ರಿಂದ ರಾತ್ರಿ 8ರವರೆಗೆ. ಸ್ಥಳ TMA ಇಂಟರ್ನ್ಯಾಷನಲ್ ಕನ್ವೆನ್ಷನ್ ಸೆಂಟರ್, ಮಂಗಳೂರು.
ಮಣಿಪಾಲ್ ಆರೋಗ್ಯ ಕಾರ್ಡ್ ಸಣ್ಣದು, ಸೌಲಭ್ಯ ದೊಡ್ಡದು. 23 ವರ್ಷಗಳಿಂದ ಉತ್ತಮ ಆರೋಗ್ಯದ ಭರವಸೆ ನಿಮಗೂ ಹಾಗೂ ನಿಮ್ಮವರಿಗೂ. ಮಂಗಳೂರಿನ KMC ಆಸ್ಪತ್ರೆಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾಗೂ ಕಟೀಲಿನ ದುರ್ಗಾ ಸಂಜೀವನಿ ಮಣಿಪಾಲ್ ಆಸ್ಪತ್ರೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ವಿಶೇಷ ರಿಯಾಯಿತಿ. ಹೊರರೋಗಿ ವಿಭಾಗದಲ್ಲಿ ಸಮಾಲೋಚನೆಗೆ 50% ವರೆಗೆ ರಿಯಾಯಿತಿ ಪಡೆದುಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ಪ್ರಯೋಗಾಲಯ ಪರೀಕ್ಷೆಗಳಿಗೆ 20% ರಿಯಾಯಿತಿ. ರೇಡಿಯಾಲಜಿ ಪರೀಕ್ಷೆಗಳಿಗೆ 20%, ಹೊರರೋಗಿ ಕಾರ್ಯವಿಧಾನಗಳ ಮೇಲೆ 10% ಹಾಗೂ ಔಷಧಿಗಳಿಗೆ 10%ದವರೆಗೆ ರಿಯಾಯಿತಿ ಪಡೆದುಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ಅದೇ ರೀತಿ ಒಳರೋಗಿಗಳಾಗಿ ದಾಖಲಾದಲ್ಲಿ ಜನರಲ್ ಹಾಗೂ ಅಲ್ಟ್ರಾ ವಾರ್ಡ್ ವಿಭಾಗಗಳ ಮೇಲೆ ವಿಶೇಷ ರಿಯಾಯಿತಿಯನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಪಡೆದುಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ನಿಮ್ಮ ಕುಟುಂಬದ ಆರೋಗ್ಯ ಸೇವಾ ಅಗತ್ಯತೆಗಳಿಗಾಗಿ ಹಿಂದೆ ನೋಂದಾಯಿಸಿಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ಅರ್ಜಿ ಹಾಗೂ ಕಾರ್ಡ್ಗಾಗಿ ಸಂಪರ್ಕಿಸಿರಿ.
ಹಾಯ್ ಹಲೋ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ, ನಾನು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಭೋಜರಾಜ್ ಮಾಮಂಜೂರು. ವಿಶ್ವದಲ್ಲೇ ಪ್ರಥಮ ಬಾರಿಗೆ ಜೀನಿ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯಿಂದ ಸಿರಿಧಾನ್ಯಗಳ ಹಾಲಿನ ಹುಡಿ ತಯಾರಾಗಿದೆ. ಶೀಘ್ರದಲ್ಲೇ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಹತ್ತಿರದ ಮಾಲ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ, ಅಂಗಡಿಗಳಲ್ಲಿ, ಮೆಡಿಕಲ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ದೊರೆಯಲಿಕ್ಕಿದೆ. ಅದರೊಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಸಿರಿಧಾನ್ಯಗಳ ದೋಸೆ ಹಿಟ್ಟು, ಮೊಳಕೆ ಬರೆಸಿದ ರಾಗಿ ದೋಸೆ ಹಿಟ್ಟು, ಮೊಳಕೆ ಕಟ್ಟಿದ ಸಜ್ಜೆ ಜೋಳದ ಚಪಾತಿ ಹಿಟ್ಟು ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ಅತಿ ಶೀಘ್ರದಲ್ಲೇ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮಾರುಕಟ್ಟೆಗೆ ಬರಲಿಕ್ಕಿದೆ. ಜೀನಿ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯಿಂದ ತಯಾರಾದಂಥ ಈ ಉತ್ಪನ್ನಗಳನ್ನು ಬಳಸಿ ಆರೋಗ್ಯವಾಗಿರಿ. ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ.
ಆತ್ಮಶಕ್ತಿ ವಿವಿಧೋದ್ದೇಶ ಸಹಕಾರಿ ಸಂಘ ಪಡೇಲ್ ಮಂಗಳೂರು ದಕ್ಷಿಣ ಕನ್ನಡ ಹಾಗೂ ಉಡುಪಿ ಜಿಲ್ಲೆಗಳಲ್ಲಿ 30 ಶಾಖೆಗಳನ್ನು ಹೊಂದಿದ್ದು ನಿರಂತರ ರಾಜ್ಯ ಹಾಗೂ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯ ಪ್ರಶಸ್ತಿಗಳನ್ನು ಪಡೆಯುತ್ತಾ ಇರುವ ಸಹಕಾರಿ ಸಂಘವು ಕಳೆದ 1 ದಶಕಗಳಿಂದ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಸೇವೆಯಲ್ಲಿ. ಠೇವಣಿಗಳ ಮೇಲೆ ಆಕರ್ಷಕ ಬಡ್ಡಿದರಗಳು, ವಿವಿಧ ಸಾಲ ಸೌಲಭ್ಯಗಳು, ಚಿನ್ನಾಭರಣ ಸಾಲ ಪ್ರತಿ ಗ್ರಾಂಗೆ ರೂಪಾಯಿ 4,750ರವರೆಗೆ. ಅತಿ ಶೀಘ್ರ ಚಿನ್ನಾಭರಣ ಸಾಲ ಲಭ್ಯ. ಗೃಹೋಪಯೋಗಿ ಸಾಲ, ವ್ಯಾಪಾರ ಸಾಲ, ವಾಹನ ಸಾಲ, ಮನೆ ದುರಸ್ತಿ, ವಾಣಿಜ್ಯ ಕಟ್ಟಡಗಳಿಗೆ ಸಾಲ, ಗೃಹ ನಿರ್ಮಾಣ ಸಾಲ, ಇ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಪ್ ಸೇವೆಗಳು ಆಯ್ದ ರಜಾ ದಿನಗಳಲ್ಲೂ ಲಭ್ಯ. ಬ್ಯಾಂಕಿಂಗ್ ಸೇವೆಗಳ ಜೊತೆ ಡಿಡಿ, ಆರ್ಟಿಜಿಎಸ್, ನೆಫ್ಟ್ ಸೌಲಭ್ಯ. ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಸ್ ಮನಿ, ವೆಸ್ಟರ್ನ್ ಯೂನಿಯನ್, LIC ಹಾಗೂ ಎಲ್ಲ ರೀತಿಯ ವಿಮಾ ಸೇವೆಗಳು ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಲಭ್ಯ. ವಾರ್ಷಿಕ 2,000 ಕೋಟಿಗೂ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ವಹಿವಾಟು ನಡೆಸುತ್ತಿರುವ ನಮ್ಮ ಸಹಕಾರಿ ಸಂಘದ ಪ್ರಧಾನ ಕಚೇರಿ ಆತ್ಮಶಕ್ತಿ ಸೌಧ, ಬೈರಾಡಿಕೆರೆ ಹತ್ತಿರ, ಪಡೇಲ್, ಮಂಗಳೂರು.
ಸಂಜೆಯ ಗಾಳಿಗೆ ಹೂ ಬಿಡುವ, ಸಂಭ್ರಮದ ಕರೆದೇರಿಡುವ, ಕನಸಿಗುಲಿಯುವ ಕಾತರವ ನಾ ಕಂಡೆ. ಗಮನಿಸೋ ಕಣ್ಣಿಗೂ ತುಂಬ ಚಂದ ವಿಸ್ಮಯ, ಗುರುತಿಸೋ ನೆನಪಿಗೂ.
ನಮ್ಗೆ ಹುಡುಗಿ ತುಂಬಾ ಇಷ್ಟ ಆದ್ಲು. ಅವಳುಟ ಸೀರೆ ಅಂತೂ ತುಂಬಾನೇ ಇಷ್ಟ ಆಯ್ತು ಅಲ್ವಾ?
ಸೀರೆ ಸಂಜೀವ್ ಶೆಟ್ಟಿ ಶೋರೂಮ್ ಇಂದ ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ.
ನಿಂಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತು?
ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಮದುವೆ ಸಮಾರಂಭ ಅಂದಾಗ ಮೊದ್ಲಿಗೆ ನೆನಪಿಗೆ ಬರೋದು ಸಂಜೀವ್ ಶೆಟ್ಟಿ ಶೋರೂಮ್ ತಾನೆ?
ನಿಜವಾಗ್ಲು ನನ್ನ ಮದುವೆಗೂ, ನನ್ನ ಮಕ್ಕಳ ಮದುವೆಗೂ, ನನ್ನ ಮೊಮ್ಮಕ್ಕಳ ಮದುವೆಗೂ ಸಂಜೀವ ಶೆಟ್ಟರದ್ದೇ ಜವಳಿ. ಉತ್ತಮ ದರ್ಜೆಯ ಕಮ್ಮಿ ಬೆಲೆಗೆ ಸಿಗುವ ಬಟ್ಟೆ, ಕ್ವಾಲಿಟಿ, ವೆರೈಟಿ, ಅದ್ಭುತ.
75 ವರ್ಷಗಳಿಂದ ವಸ್ತ್ರ ಪರಂಪರೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಗುಣಮಟ್ಟಕ್ಕೆ ಆದ್ಯತೆ ನೀಡುತ್ತಾ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಲಾಭಾಂಶ, ನಿಗದಿತ ದರದೊಂದಿಗೆ ಎಲ್ಲಾ ಪೀಳಿಗೆಯ ಗ್ರಾಹಕರ ವಿಶ್ವಾಸ ಗೆದ್ದ ಮಹಾವಸ್ತ್ರ ಮಳಿಗೆ ಎಂ ಸಂಜೀವ ಶೆಟ್ಟಿ ಸಿಲ್ಕ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ರೆಡಿಮೇಡ್ಸ್, ಪುತ್ತೂರು ಹಾಗೂ ಮಂಗಳೂರು.
ವೀಕ್ಷಕರೇ, ಈ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಟಾನಿಕ್ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ವಿರಾಮದ ನಂತರ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಸ್ವಾಗತ. ಇಂದಿನ ವಿಷಯ ಡೂಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಡೋಂಟ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡರ್ ದ ಕಂಪನೀಸ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಟ್ ಆಸ್ ವೆಲ್ ಆಸ್ LLPs. We have two resourceful resource persons with us, CS Chetan Naik, practicing company secretary, and CS Ullas S. Bhatt, practicing company secretary. And both are past chairman of the Institute of Company Secretaries of India, Bangalore chapter. Once again, both of you are welcome to our show after the break. So, before the break, we were discussing about various forms and other that is calendar of events. Under LLP, what are all the calendar of events and what are all the forms to be filed?
Under LLP, you have to file only two forms on annual basis. One is annual return in Form 8 in the month of within 60 days of the closure of financial year. And one more is about the financial statement that has to be filed within 29th of October every year. That is Form 11.
Okay.
So these are the two things. And one more thing is as required for DAN. Here we are calling it as a DPIN, Designated Partner Identification Number. We have to update the KYC every year and keep that DPIN in order.
Okay.
So no other periodical returns are required for LLPs.
Okay.
Unless there is a change in the partners or resignation of designated partner, no other forms are required.
Okay. What about the special events, special resolutions, extraordinary general meeting and all those things in case of companies and LLPs? And what are all the returns to be filed? What are the procedures?
No, LLP, there is no question of changing any amendment or by way of passing the resolutions because it's an agreement between the partners.
Okay.
So every time when you are
all have to agree.
All have to agree.
If one person also doesn't agree,
yes,
disagree, no.
Yes, then that cannot be changed. That is the disadvantage of LLP.
Like partnership only.
Partnership firm. So suppose one partner want to exit, he want to withdraw his capital and he has to get out from the company, LLP, then all partners have to agree and they have to make a revised agreement. That has to be filed. In case of company, there are majority shareholders can decide about change many things. Like 99% of company matter can be decided by the majority of shareholders by passing the resolutions. Whenever such resolutions are passed for changing the articles or memorandum, we have to file MGT 14 within 30 days. Special resolutions within 30 days from the date of passing the resolutions. This is the thing is required for the resolution.
What are the requirements for board meetings?
In companies?
Yes.
In companies, the board meetings, everything is covered except in case of Section 8 companies. In all other case, the Institute of Company Secretaries of India has made a secretarial standards. So they have mandated those secretarial standards have to be followed, how it has to be called, all those things. Other than that, every year you need to have in a calendar year for not a small company. Not a smaller company is having this turnover more than 40 crore and capital more than 4 crores. So these sort of companies, they need to have 4 meetings in a calendar year, 4 board meetings of the directors, meeting of the board of directors.
The gap between 2 meetings
should not be more than 120 days. The max is 120 days. In case of a small company that is as covered that 4 crore and below 4 crore and 40 crore, you require a minimum 2 meetings every half of the calendar year. So first half, that is Jan to June and July to December. You need to have at least 1 meeting in each half, 2 meetings, and the gap here it is different. The gap between the 2 meetings should be more than 90 days. The extremities. It does not mean that each this one should have more than 90 days. The minimum 2 meetings that you have held, the gap should be more than 90 days. So this they have to be very careful about. So this is a minimum requirement. And in a year, whether it is small company, not a small company, Section 8 company, the rules are similar to small company, holding of board meetings. Gap should not exceed 90 days, 2 meetings one in each half year. In all these cases, one thing very careful the directors have to be, minimum 1 meeting in a year they have to attend in person or through video conferencing. They cannot escape.
Otherwise they will be disqualified.
They have vacated their office. They will be disqualified, they will vacate their office. So that they have to be very careful about.
Okay. Now common thing which we see, normally people float companies, but they don't run like companies. Especially in case of private limited companies, more are husband and wife companies. In husband and wife companies, what happens? They are only floating companies, visiting card, managing director, chairman, director, all those things they print. But they run it like a proprietorship concerns. So what are the common mistakes they do? And if they don't file the annual return consecutively for 3 years, under section 164, disqualification will be there.
Yes.
Can you throw light on it?
Yeah. See, under Companies Act, there is no difference between the company is formed with the different individuals or husband and wife. But the promoters, when they become husband and wife, they form the company, they think that they are not serious about the company. Normally, either husband or wife will take a lead and the other one will follow. But Companies Act is not giving any exemption for such a family-owned companies. So they have to follow all the guidelines applicable for big companies, if it's a big company, or small company, if it is a small company. This is the one thing. And conducting the meeting is very important, even if it is husband and wife, or brothers or friends. Because nowadays there are a lot of challenges are happening within the family, within the friends, and even father, son, or husband and wife. In that point of time, that company will be in a problem.
What are the records they should maintain for the meeting?
No, first thing is that the issue of notice is very important. Because most of the companies, private limited companies, what they are following, they are not issuing the notice. Because they
Even notice by mail is also okay.
Mail is also okay, but you have to see that is served to the registered email ID.
Okay.
So for that directors or shareholders have to give their email ID to the company, or in their DIN KYC we can take the email ID, and it should serve through that email ID. We cannot give notice to any other email ID. That can be challenged later. So giving notice is very important. We have to see that notice is acknowledged. In case of board of directors meeting, in case of shareholder meeting,
notice by WhatsApp not possible.
Not possible.
Blue tick bandre
that is not recognized.
Income tax notice, if they send, if there is a blue tick, it is deemed to be served. From income tax side.
And see, all those things will be considered in the evidence actually. The notice is served and also, but in a normal way you have to give in a email or a physical copy.
How many days before?
That is based on the articles of association, what is the date, because private
if there is no article is silent, then
normally it is 7 days.
Okay,
for board meeting and 21 days for the AGM.
AGM.
Yes.
And what is the minimum number of days for AGM? In the article, 7 days we can
do. 7 days we can do it.
Shorter than 7 days?
7 days shorter than that also we can do it.
Okay.
As per the articles of association. Otherwise you have to go with the standard one.
Okay.
And second thing is about...
Suppose even in articles, if it is mentioned 21 days, if all the peoples agree, shorter this, that is also possible.
Yes, 95% of the shareholders, if they agree for the shorter notice, we can go with the shorter notice.
Okay.
In case of board of directors, if all the directors agree for the shorter notice,
okay.
But we have to take the shorter notice consent.
Okay.
It is not that oral, everything should be on record.
Okay. After the notice, then during the course of the meeting, attendance register.
Yes. Attendance register is required. Then the meeting they have to appoint one person chairman, and minutes is a very important document. So minutes is a decision what they taken in the meeting.
So in the decision taken in by the minutes, it will be signed in the next meeting or the same meeting?
No, even same meeting also. Nowadays the practice is that most of the companies are following the small companies. They do the meeting and across the table they conduct this one, write the minutes and they take the signatures.
Otherwise
next board meeting the chairman can sign.
Okay.
Chairman of the meeting which the minutes is pertaining, or the next meeting chairman.
Okay. Whether all these records is to be kept for how many years?
Yeah, normally there is no time limit for under Companies Act, but it is a permanent records. Minutes and statutory registers and all other things are permanent records.
Okay.
Only written, which is filed with the ROC, can be scrutinized for 8 years.
Okay.
They cannot go beyond 8 years.
Okay. Now, as I already mentioned, that what is the role of company secretary or a chartered accountant with respect to these companies?
In case of companies, they are mandatorily required to have a chartered accountant, statutory auditor, who can only be a member, practicing member of ICAI, Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. Within 30 days after the company is formed, by board meeting they can appoint a chartered accountant as a first auditor, and file the necessary. One filing will come, one ADT, one form is there. that they have to file within 15 days after his appointment, within 14 days after his appointment. Then the other, this one is, if you are not able to appoint within 30 days, then you get further 90 days time by extraordinary general meeting. You can do it by an extraordinary general meeting, but there will be a failure. The directors should clearly mention that they failed to appoint. So that could be taken as failure of the director. So preferably within 30 days it has to be filed instead of going for that 90 days alternate.
At the time of floating the company also you can file immediately.
At the time of floating of the company, you cannot have you cannot appoint an auditor. Only after the company is formed you can appoint the auditor for appointment of auditor.
Okay.
Then so far as the company secretary is concerned, you need a whole-time company secretary only in certain cases. That is in excess of 10 crore paid up capital. You will be needing a whole-time company secretary as a key managerial personnel. Otherwise, it comes in the case of one MGT8 form is there. It is filed along with your annual return, and another one is MGT7, which is filed along with your this one in the annual return. So in these two cases, depending on your whether you're a small company, not a small company, a public limited company. So depending on that, this MGT7 and MGT8. MGT8 depends on your turnover and capital criteria. So depending on that, you will need a practicing company secretary. Of course, for advice and all, the way it is the act is structured, I humbly feel that these two professionals will always be needed. So, whichever director, whether it's a small company, whatever you are having, please keep a direct line of communication with these two professionals. One is a company secretary and one is a chartered accountant.
Now, compulsorily company secretary, 10 crore and above paid up capital, it is a must. Other than that, any other requirement for compulsory company secretary?
No, only the capital is the criteria.
Okay. But while filing the annual return, that minutes and other attestation, that who can do?
That actually, see, all the attestation will be done by the chairman of the company, minutes and other things. But certification can be done by the whole-time practice. Company secretaries who is having the practicing.
Chartered accountants cannot do.
Chartered accountant can certify the financials, AOC4.
Okay. Other than that,
annual return has to be certified by the company secretaries.
Yes.
Certification is required only for the big companies. Small companies, certification is not required.
Okay.
Only director can certify.
Okay. Very nice. Now, there is a lot of demand for company secretaries now, because number of CAs are also less when compared to the requirement. Okay. Likewise, number of company secretaries are also less when compared to the requirement. In some cases, what happens, 10 crore and above paid up capital is there. They cannot appoint company secretary because of financial reason or non-availability of the company secretary, all blah blah blah, whatever it may be. What are the remedies for such things?
No, as per the institute data, what is available, there are sufficient number of company secretaries available for the matching with the companies. Earlier they were taking little bit liberal, saying that what companies used to do a paper publication asking for the company secretaries, and they were trying to prove that the company secretaries are not available. But that is not getting accepted by the ministry. There is a penalty of 1,000 rupees per day for the companies for non-compliance, and more than that, now the people are thinking that companies were thinking that okay, we will pay the penalty rather than paying the salary to the company secretaries, because company secretaries will cost more than the penalty. But now there is one step ahead. If there is no company secretaries appointed, the company will be marked as a non-compliance company, non-compliant company. If anybody goes there and check in the website, under master data, it will be considered as a non-compliant company.
Then can they appoint some retainers as practicing company secretaries?
No, they can't. No. There is no substitute for this.
Okay.
Okay. Once that is non-compliant comes under master data, all these financial institutions, stakeholders and all, they are getting worried about the company. They are scared. So that company secretary is a mandatory appointment where there is a more than 10 crores company.
Okay. We have one more caller now. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Who's speaking?
Hello?
Hello? Who's speaking? Hello?
Hello?
Matadi alla, who's speaking? Hello? 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 There is some call issue. Okay, we will proceed with this. Now, company secretaries, we are discussing. Okay. Now, if the company secretaries are not available, then whether they have to pay fine?
Yes, they have to pay the fine.
How much?
That is 1,000 rupees per day. But the worrying point is that non-compliant companies, if it is marked, then it is a big challenge for them. That is the reason they have to appoint. And nowadays company secretaries are available. It is not that company secretaries are not available.
What are the functions of a company secretary? What are all work the company secretary is supposed to do?
A whole-time company
in a
secretary.
company, yeah.
A whole-time employee. Main thing is all the signing of the balance sheets. So he is one of the KMP. He is one of the key managerial personnel. So he is also an officer in default. He is automatically an officer in default. So all the liabilities, what all duties under the Companies Act, equally with the director, the company secretary is also, whole-time company secretary is also liable for that. Second thing is, in the balance sheet everywhere his signature comes, and in the annual return, if there is a whole-time company secretary, only he certifies and files the annual return. It is his certification. The certification can be done, but the signature for the annual return will be only of the whole-time company secretary. Then
conducting board meetings, conducting
AGMs,
issuing notices,
yes,
special resolution, general resolution,
all these will
share transfer, share transmission.
All this will be his responsibility. And not only that, recently there is many few adjudication judgments have come where they have made the company secretary liable for errors by the directors also. So they have said that the issuing of notices, everything, they have said it is a company secretary's responsibility. They very clearly laid down that law. So all these areas, the company secretary.
What are the role in case of listed companies?
The listed companies, along with the Companies Act, there is a SEBI guidelines. They have to follow with the SEBI guidelines. And there, these company secretaries are named as a compliance officers. See, basically what happened, now this Companies Act 2013, when they are recognizing this company secretary as a KMP, key managerial person, there is a equal responsibility of like a director. In case of penalty, whatever the fine or the prosecution, it is getting extended to the company secretaries also, because we are coming under that KMP provisions.
Okay.
So listed provisions, listed compliances, listed company compliance, SEBI guidelines, they have to advise. And based on various laws, we are extending from company law to corporate law. Maybe law under trademark, or under patent, or copyright, or indirect taxation. Everywhere their company secretary can advise to the companies based on their expertise.
What are the other roles of a company secretary? Can management give, other than this secretarial role, any other role to the full-time company secretary?
Yeah, based on their expertise, they can give the responsibilities. Even see, it is a combined position of legal and corporate law.
Okay.
So basically, if it is a law along with the company secretary, it is always good, CS as well as law, so that they can do that dual role. And some people are like MBA and CA and CS, where they are working as a under finance controller, but designation will be only as a company secretary. They cannot have the two designation and work, but function wise they can function in a dual role.
Okay. What are the rules for charge creation? So when the loan is taken, so compulsory there is a charge creation.
Yes.
If there is no charge creation, any penalty is there, what is the rules regarding charge creation and satisfaction of the charge?
The charge, when a charge comes, is when any property of the company, whether it can be leasehold property or own
or any asset.
Asset.
Hypothecation
Property,
also it is
movable, immovable, both. Or even intangibles, whatever this one is, any asset of the company, when it is given as security towards repayment of any loan or any obligation or debt, then the company should mandatorily file it within 29 days. Within 29 days it has to be filed.
Company has to file.
Company has to file it within 29 days.
Not secured creditor.
No, but the secured creditor gets the right after the 29th day. They get the right. They can, if these people are not filing it, the company or its management is not filing it, then the secured creditor can go ahead and file the form. The form is sent to the company for their this thing. The intimation is sent to them. If there is no response, form is registered. another one very important point is from 60th day to 120th day, there are heavy ad valorem penalties. From the 30th day to 60 days, there is a normal additional fees is there. From the 60th day to 120th day, there are very heavy additional fees.
Many
Ad valorem.
people, they take car loans from these NBFCs, banks and all. Normally they are not bothered about it because
They
car
have to-
hypothecation will be there, entry will be in their RC. So they are not bothered to file a registration
Yes,
of
yes,
charge.
yes.
Whether it is a violation and any fine will be there.
Heavy penalties are there for not
But
filing.
many
on them.
cases they don't do na.
Yeah, but,
And the
but penalty is on company. That is the thing. NBFC is a big challenge is that once they even though they sometimes they are not entering agreement, they will take one booklet or they take one term sheet,
Correct.
and then they are not cooperating for charge creation. When this audit comes or when we are filing the annual return, when we observe the challenge is that after 4 months we cannot file only nowadays. Anyway, some representation is getting
This is the common mistake, car loan and all. This they normally do. Correct, no?
99% is the car loans, vehicle loans.
Okay. Then creation of charge. Satisfaction of charge is another problem. After closing the loan, neither secured creditor is interested in filing, nor this loan close aitalla anteli. In such cases, satisfaction of charge, what is the rule?
No, satisfaction of charge, you see, within 30 days you have to go with the charge satisfaction. If not, you have to apply for the condonation of delay.
If the
With
secured
regional
creditors
director.
is not cooperating,
There is no way out, but we have to get a letter from them for the closure.
okay.
See here, what mistake normally they do is, the moment loan is closed, they are thinking that mortgage has to be cleared in the sub-register office if it is a property. That will be cleared, and they will take their original document and they will go to the bank. They will go, but they will forget to clear the satisfaction. In case of creation, at least bankers are interested. This is the one challenge. Second thing is that when there is a shifting of loan from one bank to another bank, that time if you cross this 30 days, bankers will not give that letter and they will give the letter of that after the expiry of 30 days.
Correct. They don't cooperate.
They don't cooperate.
Okay.
Because there is no liability on financial institutions.
Now, in case of annual checkup, normally people also do their health checkup. Like that company's health checkup, they conduct a search report while giving lending. What is this search report and what are all the contents in that search report?
Search report is generally the banks take it according to their requirement, according to the guidelines, and before a loan is given or they take it in two stages, that is before the loan is given and after the loan is given, whether the charge has been registered. The main thing that comes in search report is, one is the shareholding pattern and the director, who are all the director of the company, all these things. Then the annual filing status. The main thing that comes out, more than this, the charge creation details. That is what property secured on what loan. All that is appearing under the MCA only, the Ministry of Corporate Affairs website only. What is not covered under this is not mentioned in that search report. Only what is covered under.
Who are the directors?
Who are the directors?
What are the charges?
What are the assets? What are the borrowings? What are the loans?
Shareholding pattern is also there.
Shareholding pattern is also given. To the extent is it filed in the registrar's MCA. To the extent filed.
Okay. So now when compared to LLP, now company, it is a more secured thing for secured creditors, bankers also. And bankers also, they prefer, when they give bigger loans, they prefer corporate entity only, that is companies, because it is a different legal entity and members may come or members may go, company will live forever. But one challenge for the secured creditor is, if the compliances are not properly done by this management, then it is a matter of concern for the secured creditors. That's why this search report is every year it has been taken. Like encumbrance certificate is taken every year for mortgage properties. Like that they do search report. So here they will be doubly sure. One is mortgage property, there will be EC. Then here it is like a EC in case of companies register also. Now we have left with very few time. So what are your last piece of advice for companies and LLPs, do's and don'ts in brief.
Yeah, when anyone decides to start any business, first thing he has to decide about the entity. It is very crucial because it is very difficult to go reverse. So because if you are having a definite project in his hand or a definite investment pattern, like at least for next 5 years or 3 years, then he can go with the company. Otherwise, that is the reason in your initial talk you told that why these companies are getting closed. Because they are not having any idea about the company, they just start the company. Someone says that company, now a lot of startup companies are coming with the ideas. There is no facilities, there is no infrastructure, there is only idea works. That if that idea is not working means that immediately that company will be closed. And they are not serious about closure of the company also. They just leave it as it is, they will leave, then one fine day they will get a notice, then they will think, then they will struggle to close the company. So what my advice is that decide first about the entity. If there is a marginal scale up is there, or at least there is a proper projection is there, go for the company. Otherwise start with the LLP, later you can go with the companies. One more thing is that once you form the company, it should run like a company. They should be serious about running the company like a company only. Why these companies having the advantage before the bankers or any other stakeholder? Because there is a guidelines. As per the guidelines it has to move. Otherwise there is no meaning for the company. It is better to have a proprietorship concern. So if they don't know about the rules and regulations, they have to keep in touch with the chartered accountants, they have to keep in touch with the professional company secretaries who will advise them for the timely compliances. Rather than paying the penalties, it is better to pay their fees and get the proper advice and run the company like a company. When you are riding on a horse, we should ride a horse like a horse. We cannot ride a horse like any other animal. There should be a fitness. So these are the few challenges are there, but as I told, as we discussed, the company, all are saying that company form is very difficult, running the company is very difficult, it is a partnership firm is easy. It is not. The difficulty comes when if you violate the rules and regulations, if you don't take the proper advice.
That means compliance is the most motto.
Actually compliance is simple. But
be compliant.
Yes.
And be fine. Yes. Otherwise you have to pay fine.
Yes.
Okay. What is your last piece of advice? Do's and don'ts.
What I would say is compliance is cheap, non-compliance is costly. Nowadays they are very strict. Government is extremely stringent about compliance, and major to round up these do's and don'ts from my side. The major this thing is when you are selecting the initial capital, within some time you have to bring in money. All those whatever requirements are there, please go through all the requirements. Sit with your with your auditor, sit with your company secretary, discuss on what all things you need to do, and only then you take that before you form the company. You have an idea of what you need to do. Once you form a company, keep a regular this thing, run it properly, run the company properly, and also main thing is all the notices, everything, avoid the dispute in the company. Correctly you treat all shareholders equally, give them proper whatever has been provided in the act. If you follow the act, then it is easier, cheaper for you and very easy for you to form the company, to run the company and to manage the company. So this is the basic thing.
Okay. We have already completed 1.5 hours fruitful discussion. Thanks to CS Chetan Naik.
Thank you.
And thanks to CS Ullas S. Bhatt for disseminating your expertise and rich knowledge with our viewers. We have not covered even 25% of the portion. There are many more things are yet to be covered. In future date, we will conduct one more program on this. On behalf of our entire viewers and Namma Kudla channel and my personal side, thank you very much for being with us and disseminating your rich knowledge with our viewers. ವೀಕ್ಷಕರೇ, ನಿಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿದೆಯಾ ಫೈನಾನ್ಸ್, ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸೇಷನ್, ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಕನ್ಫ್ಯೂಷನ್? ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿದೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಕುಡ್ಲ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಹಾಗೂ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಸೊಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಈ ವಾರದ ಈ ಸಂಚಿಕೆ ಇದೇ ಬುಧವಾರ ರಾತ್ರಿ 9:30 ಗಂಟೆಗೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಕುಡ್ಲ 24/7 ಮರುಪ್ರಸಾರಗೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೇವೆ. ಅದೇ ರೀತಿ ಈ ವರ್ಲ್ಡ್ ಟೂರಿಸಮ್ ಡೇ 27 ಸೆಪ್ಟೆಂಬರ್, ಅದರ ಪ್ರಯುಕ್ತ ಕೂಡ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಶುಭಾಶಯ ಹೇಳ್ತೇನೆ. ಸರ್ವೇ ಜನಾಃ ಸುಖಿನೋ ಭವಂತು, ಸಮಸ್ತ ಸನ್ಮಂಗಳಾನಿ ಭವಂತು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನು ಇಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ವಿರಾಮಗೊಳಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇವೆ.
Affordable homes in the heart of the city with luxurious beyond your wildest imagination. Yes, it's unbelievable but true. Everything is possible. At Rohan City in Beja in Mangalore, 550 apartments, more than 250 commercial spaces, and 80,000